I'm Peter Martin.
And I'm Christian Sands.
And this is the You'll Hear It podcast, daily jazz advice coming at you. What's going on, Christian?
How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I'm so excited for today's episode, not the least of which Adam isn't here. Not that that's like a bad thing or a good thing. It's just a thing. But we have a very special guest, Christian Sands, wonderful young pianist. Actually, I don't even know if I can keep calling you a young pianist because you're getting older. But I always remember you when you were younger. But really one of my favorite pianists, one of my favorite people in the jazz community that I've gotten a chance to meet. And I love his last album. So I invited Christian to come on. So thank you so much for being here.
Of course, man. Thank you for having me.
And you're kind of our first official, well, you're definitely the first kind of co-host if you're up for doing that. And I probably should have told you that. But, we're very casual here at the You'll Hear It.
Totally. So we'll just, we'll split the royalties and everything. I'm not worried.
Oh, that's good. We can definitely split the royalties. That's a very easy, non-existent check.
Right.
So you were also requested by several of our listeners. And actually, a number of people have been requested, but what I like to do is focus in the ones that I'm interested in having as well, and I only mention them. So I was super excited that you agreed to do this for that, because I know a lot of our listeners are fans of yours and have heard you live, heard you on an album, heard you with Christian McBride's trio, all the different things that you've done in your career. So excited to present you to them by special request, because we're all about giving the people what they want here. I don't know if I mentioned that before either. That's kind of one of our
This is very cool. It's a very cool podcast.
So maybe we could jump right in. I think most folks, certainly diehard or even medium diehard fans, know who you are. But you're from Connecticut, New Haven. Were you born and raised in New Haven?
I was, yeah.
Okay. Well, you know what? We all got to be from somewhere. I'm from St. Louis, so that's how we do it.
Right.
But I know that there was a lot of talk about you being a prodigy and stuff, and I don't know if you would describe yourself as that. Whenever I talk to people that are other people say they're a prodigy. I don't know, but I know you had some association with Dr. Billy Taylor, and he took an interest and notice in you at a young age, right?
Yeah. I spent a lot of time with him when I was younger, sort of in the beginning of high school. But I've been playing for so long. I've been playing since I was about officially, since I was like 4.
Nice.
I kind of started dabbling at it when I was about 1 or 2, something like that. But it takes a while to find a teacher that wants to teach a 2-year-old. So
right.
I think I started lessons about 4 years old. But fast forwarding into high school, I met Dr. Billy Taylor at this really cool jazz program in UMass Amherst, which I actually teach at now every summer, called Jazz in July. And it's a 2-week program. And my teacher at the time, Rex Cadwalder, had told me about it and told me about Dr. Billy Taylor. And, you got to go and you got to be under this great musician. And, you're going to have a lot of fun. There's a lot of kids your age that are playing. Because, growing up in New Haven and doing gigs and everything, I was the youngest person. Everyone else was at least in their 60s. Or 50s or something like that.
Oh, no, you were really the youngest. I thought you were going to be like, everybody was like 2 years older than me.
Oh, no. Well, but I did do a few gigs with, for those of you that know, Lucas Curtis, and some of the Curtis brothers, I did some gigs with them. Godwin Louie, we all kind of grew up in the same area. He was from Bridgeport. Curtis brothers were from Hartford. So we all knew each other, and we kind of did a few gigs here and there. But for the most part, I was always performing with older musicians, Jackie McLean, so it was a lot of older musicians, which was great because I got a lot of lessons and I got to learn really how to play this music.
Right. Well, I think a lot of folks know certainly Jackie McLean's kind of like the godfather of Connecticut jazz, but there's real scenes there, and we always hear about different musicians from there, but I've got a little bit of chance to go and play there. There's a lot of hip things happening there.
And all the great musicians either retired and moved to Hartford or New Haven. So you had Nat Reeves, you had Jackie McLean, Horace Silver was there. You have a certain sound. New Haven, Jesse Hameen. Jeff Fuller. You have all these cats that kind of were either in these great bands or just working musicians in New York during, the great times of, the 60s and 70s.
Nice. All right. Well, if it's cool with you, I want to like really fast forward to your new album because we don't have a lot of time, and I think it's such a great, documentation of you. But mainly, it's just such a great sounding record. I was coming back the last few days listening to it, and yesterday, I don't know if you got a chance to hear it yet, but we did a little breakdown. Actually, you don't need to listen to it because we might have made some mistakes on it. But we basically broke down the first track, Rebel Music, and I think that's such a great placement of where you put it on the album. And one of the
thank you.
yeah, man, one of the things about this album I think is so great is it's great piano playing, great writing. I mean, you wrote almost everything on the album, right?
Yeah.
I know they got those slacker songwriters, Lennon and McCartney, on one tune.
Right,
I did notice
those,
that.
those major chord writings.
Yeah, exactly. Simplistic. But I mean, so you really, I mean, I love it when we're putting out original. I mean, we can always do the bebop stuff and the Herbie stuff. All that stuff is great, but I love it when young musicians, any musicians, are putting their own music out. But then we got a lot of musicians putting out albums of original music, but you listen to it, you're like, oh, that's great, they did that, but it's not actually that fun to listen to. This is a record that's a lot of fun to listen to, and we talk about on the sorry, I'm getting on like a soliloquy here because I was just at Jazz Congress, so I'm feeling very political. You know what I'm saying? But
okay, right.
No, but I mean, this is an album for those of you, and I highly recommend it, is to listen to when you get a chance from beginning to end, because it really tells a story, and there's great individual tracks like we broke down Rebel Music yesterday, but there's a nice progression to it. Is that something that you kind of thought about as you were composing it or as you were making it, or is that part of like the mixing and mastering process?
It was kind of just the composition process. I sat down and I kind of just had this bass line. I mean, it started out with a bass line, and it just kind of unfolded from there. Just kind of unfolded from just tweaking around the bass line, like just kind of soloing on it, and then it just opened up by itself, and I mean, I'm sure you do the same thing where you write something and then you kind of go away from it for a little while and come back. In this record, I didn't have a lot of time to do that. I actually wrote this record in 1 month. So it was really quick. It was a really quick record, but it was something that I wrote down, and I kind of went away from it and, started doing other things, working on other projects, and it kind of came back. And each time I would come back to it, every couple of days, I'd add a little more or take a little away, add a little bit more or take something away, and just kind of just back and forth with it. And then I kind of came up with this tune.
Nice. So your previous albums were Reach and Reach Further. And I want to just talk about Facing Dragons and where that came from, because I was thinking you could have gone to like Reach Furthest, right?
Right. I thought about it. Just.
But then what do you do after
everything.
that? Yeah.
Right.
So where does Facing Dragons come from?
Well, actually, originally this had a different title. The actual title was originally Chasing Dragons, which we couldn't use because there's also drug references.
Exactly. That's what it's like either a Bad Breath reference or drug reference either way.
Exactly.
Right?
And so, but originally it was that because making the album, I was in a lot of transition. I was doing a lot of different stuff. I was moving. I was trying to figure out what to write for a new record. I was in the middle of touring and figuring that out. I was in the middle of changing management and all this. So a lot of stuff was kind of going on at the same time. And so the whole idea of the dragon was really trying to, figure out what these obstacles were in my life. The obstacles recording and recording in 2 days or 1 day or something like that, where you really want to record for a while. You really want to just be able to take your time with things, So it was a lot of these questions I had. And so after doing all of this, after moving, after recording the record, it kind of turned into an answer record. Instead of just asking all these questions, it's now like, these are the answers. We have to face these answers, and we have to really go and seek what they are, in order to continue life and continue to be better and to continue to grow. So that's really what this album is all about.
Nice. I like it. Got it. So this is so it's referring to maybe a little bit more of the challenging, scary dragon, as opposed to, like, I'm thinking of the
Yeah.
the Shrek dragon that
Well,
had a
it's
crush on
interesting because when I
Eddie
was
Murphy.
coming up with the idea, it kind of had all of that,
Mm,
researching dragons too, like because I'm a big researcher, so looking up dragons, you find out there's these different meanings for dragons. Aside from being obstacles, uh, you have dragons that represent wealth and prosperity. You have dragons that represent fear. You have dragons that represent like all these different things. So really, dragons is not just about like negative things and obstacles, but really just things that you want out of life. Do you want to be more successful? Do you want to be more well-rounded? So they're really things that you really want to just have in your life too.
cool. Nice. All right, that concludes part 1 of our interview and co-hosting with Christian Sands. Tune in tomorrow for the rest of this wonderful interview with amazing pianist Christian Sands. Until tomorrow, you'll hear it.